Warning! Graphic pest control video ahead. Do not watch if you might be offended. If, however, you really like watching pest control videos, then hello again and welcome to the Squirrel Hunter channel. Please continue and watch us as we control pest populations with silenced air rifles here in the UK. If you have any questions, can you please check the description below first to see if it's already been answered and for some useful links. Thank you. Here we have Breth out checking one of his feeders on one of his permissions. You can see it's had a bit of a beating. You might have noticed on the floor looking up at the feeder was Sunny, the Lakeland Welsh Cross Terrier, which is Breth's little dog. And when he opened the feeder, he looked in and there was a squirrel inside. God knows how it got in there, so he threw the wheat in. The squirrel jumped out and proceeded to have a race with Sunny, which he lost. After seeing that, Breth decides to dust off his Daystate Mark IV, give Grant a call, and he prepares his caliber cricket, and they both decide to go out on a double session to this permission, shoot that feeder and another one. They're both launching the same Predator polymags in 177. I'll start you off with Grant's footage first. He's shooting that very same feeder you saw at the beginning that Breth was going to check on. It was put in this field because we noted a lot of squirrel activity and decided it was a good location to try it out. And Grant's here first light in an apple orchard. You can hear the wood pigeons calling in the background as cock pheasants come in. Probably learned that there's a few spilt grains to be had. We're not going to shoot it, or Grant's not going to shoot it. Just going to do a bit of filming for you. These ready to go, and waiting for some squirrels to turn up. As you can see, he's had to wait till sunrise. The sun's hitting the trees behind, and the sheep are wandering around the field. They're not anywhere in his firing line. He's only ever going to shoot at the feeder, and he's aiming up in the air anyway. The 177 legal limit air rifle in the UK, under 12 foot-pounds. Should be quite safe. They're surprisingly far away, those sheep. If they come around the feeder, might be a different story. This one sat up nicely. As explained in all the other videos, it's the same thing every time, pretty much. You wait for them to come into the feeder and adopt a nice calm feeding pattern. No stress, there's absolutely no reason to shoot it any quicker. Grant's got the camera rolling for you already, and then he's spent the rest of the time mounting the rifle, ready to take a shot. And unfortunately for Grant, he's forgot to recock his rifle after he did his test shots. Always do a test shot or two, just to be sure. Now he's ready to go. He's going to line up on this squirrel. As soon as it presents a proper target, he'll take the shot. And success. Apart from the fact he didn't have it cocked, shooting it any quicker wouldn't have helped. He's just watching it now on the floor. Or the ground even. I'm not sure if you could call this the forest floor. It's only one tree. The orchard floor, that'll be it. It's decided to play with the camera now. It's doing its normal kickabout. As explained in the comments. See Ted's video as to why they twitch after being shot in the head. Grant's off to a good start. One down. No squirrel on here, just a brown hare ambling past. Nice little bit of footage that, Grant. Always nice to see. We have another squirrel on the right hand side of the feeder this time. Sometimes they dash in and catch you unawares. It's quite an open area, which is generally good to see their approach. A lot of the time you can wait till they get behind the tree or somewhere out of sight and raise the gun quite quickly if you need to. Grant's doing the correct thing in our opinion, waiting for it to settle into a nice feeding pattern. The long grass might have shielded the other squirrel on the ground, I'm not sure. But by the look of this one's got to the feeder without Grant spotting it. But here we go. Another perfectly good shot. Another squirrel on the deck. Bit of lame back leg kicking. Another nice shot there. And here we have another squirrel in the grass. Just briefly marked it for you as it runs over to that tree in the back left. Grant's still trying to find it. Difficult sometimes. When you reach over the camera, he knows it's over there somewhere. That squirrel come over, spotted one on the ground, and did a runner. Good signs. There we go, another one's appearing. It's the beauty of an open area like this, you can see them coming. As I said before, it's quite an advantage sometimes to see them approach the side of the tree now. Get a few dead ones on the ground. They tend to mess about quite a bit. Here we go. As predicted, it's coming for a free feed of wheat. You can pretty much put anything you want in a feeder that squirrels like. You can fit it for all the best food in the world. It costs an arm and a leg, and you'll still get squirrels. You can fill it with wheat like we do, still get squirrels. It all depends how much money you want to throw at it. A lot of the time we get the wheat for nothing. A lot of the owners give it us for free, or we could buy it fairly cheaply. Trick is, once the level of the feeder starts to drop, that's the time you should be visiting it. And that can vary in time from a new feeder to find it in the first day to taking a week or two. That's why you check the feeders, give you a clue whether it's good to come and shoot or not. But here we go. That one's sat up nicely. Solid face plant, never felt a thing. Dead before it hit the ground. If we came out and checked our feeders on a daily basis, we'd use a lot smaller feeders probably. But because a lot of them are tucked away all over the place, we tend to use quite large ones. It's economical to fill them with wheat. You can leave them even through bad weather and you can't go to check. And because we have quite a lot of them around, it costs an absolute fortune to fill them with anything other than wheat. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. That's why we do what we do and how we do it. If you want to do the same, it's up to you. If you want to fill it with gold-plated peanuts, that's up to you as well. Bottom line is, if you're shooting squirrels, I don't care. This squirrel's come up very nicely. Quite a nice day. It's a pleasure to be in the hide on these days. Lots of wildlife milling about. Grant's taking the option with the camera of just leaving it panned back. Sometimes it's a useful methodology when you're filming. You can see other things happen that you'd miss normally, and only by reviewing the footage later will you see them. It's dead easy to miss things. We don't want to miss the shot. Just like that. Perfect. Total concentration. Good timing. And a well-placed pellet. This one's having a proper flap about, but got no doubt that's dead as a doornail. Well done, Grant. Starting to turn into quite a decent session. There's a squirrel bounding away. Grant spotted it appearing. They can move quite quickly across the ground sometimes. The activity seems to start to pick up now. A lot of the time that squirrels will get out of their drays, and we're pretty much sure they'll warm themselves up first, especially when they know there's a guaranteed food source. At least that's our opinion on it anyway. I tend to take a note of the times I shoot mine at various locations, and it tends to guide you on what time to turn up. If you get there at first, like the first few times, and they don't rock up till 8 o'clock in the morning for whatever reason, then sometimes it pays to have an extra hour in bed. Saves wasting your time. Sometimes you'll get one at first light, which tends to be the local one that's living nearby. Then you might have to wait for an hour and a half to 2 hours before the other ones stream their way in. You can see squirrels running around all over the place here. There's one in the distance there, a bit jump in the air. What's going on there? Startled himself. Never mind. Tension's on this one on the feeder. And it's down. Here comes another candidate from behind. Grant recocks his rifle. I've left this bit in just to show you some of the daft things that happen. He'll appear on the right hand side of the tree and have a panic attack and sprint off. It pretty much goes to walk in a second. Don't know what startles it so much. See him just to the right of that nettle. There he goes. Don't know what happened there, but it does happen sometimes. Can't explain why. Something's upset it. Not to worry, as you can see by that circle I put around it, there's one right at the bottom of the screen, if you haven't noticed it already. Grant has. Camera's on. You can see the edge of his little pop-up hide, his little tents we use. Makes it quite easy to put a feeder up in the field and rock up one day and pop up a little tent. Probably could be orange, I reckon, and it wouldn't matter to a squirrel. You've only got to be hidden from view, really. Some other animals, you have to be properly camoed up, like the corvids, the crows, magpies, etc. Things like squirrels, dare I say rabbits. A little bit stupid on that front, really. As far as I can tell, the old squirrels don't seem to mind much by smell or by colour. It allows you to do that to them from about 15 yards, which is roughly where Grant is. You can get in pretty close, there's no reason to go back any further. You could do in this area, and there's a lot more room. Watch him flap around on the floor a bit. Sped this bit up. There's a woodpecker. Just recently shot a squirrel here. As Grant was watching it, the greater spotted woodpecker comes in. You can tell with a red patch on the top of its head it's a juvenile. It's quite useful, you can tell the difference between males and females and juveniles in this species. Always nice to see though, very often hear them in the woodland I go into. This is obviously a living tree, but it's probing the nooks and crannies for insects. Very nice to see. I think we'd all agree pretty much that seeing all this extra wildlife activity is a really good bonus when your primary mission is to come out and remove a load of squirrels. There's another on the ground. Not sure if Grant's been picked up. Sometimes he will. It's difficult to tell on this little screen I'm watching. You'll probably see it much easier if you're watching it on the big screen. That's what we do sometimes. If it goes a bit quiet or they start to show any sort of sign of being spooked by the ones on the ground, we'll pop out and pick them up. If I'd have popped out and picked them up, I would have squashed that thistle down. Then again, it's probably not obscuring Grant's view very much. He's sitting to the left, he does opposite to me. I have the camera with my left hand, the rifle in my right, but I think he's got the camera to his right. He is right-handed, but each to his own, so the camera angle is looking over the thistle, and he's not, so that's probably why. Never mind. Squirrel on the feeder, and Grant's watching. Another nicely taken shot there, Grant. No need to rush. No mistakes. Nicely executed shooting. Another little grass to the left there. Just having a sniff about. I think the day's gone quite a bit further on now. I'm guessing the sheep have gone somewhere cooler. You can see by the way the shadows are quite dark directly at the end of the tree that the sun's probably climbed high in the sky. Or higher in the sky, maybe 11 to 12 o'clock I'm guessing. Squirrels will turn up to these feeders all day long. And we do think the same squirrels will come several times a day if they're left unmolested. Like someone's like Grant shooting them in the head every time they turn up when he's there. Normally when he's not there, we think they probably come for a breakfast and maybe have a mooch about and come back a bit later as they go by. Maybe they're going from their dray past it to somewhere else and then coming back, I don't know. But we know we've been out of an evening before now and they've been sat on the feeder last light almost too dark to take a shot at them, and they've been feeding on the feeders. So they'll have a bit of food before bed. But that's again understandable really when there's no other natural food around or not much. What we tend to do is cycle around the feeders. If you get enough of them up, you can pretty much do one a week, and that gives the other feeders a chance to draw in squirrels from the surrounding area, whereas you really struggle to chase them around that area. You can even draw them in from other people's property, which basically helps you in the long run. If you can shoot them on your ground, if they turn up on this property, Grant has permission to shoot them, so does Bruv, but it's his permission. If you can draw them in from another area where they're bed down and they're breeding, you can control them in quite a large area. If you don't, they're just going to come over the fence anyway. And no, it's not sporting. And that's why the title of this video is Pest Control with air rifles. It's quite an efficient way of going about it. And obviously, you come and check the feeders on a regular basis, and when you see the level drop quite considerably, you know there's quite a head of squirrels here. It's also a good one to take the dog out for a walk, which, as you've seen, that's what Bruv did. Anyway, here we go. It's what Grant's been waiting for. You only need him to sit still, and after all that muching about, as soon as it did, Grant took the shot. That's the end of Grant's session for the day. I think this was the first time he shot this feeder, I think. Not a bad haul though, is it? 9 squirrels. Not a double figure bag. I do believe he's quite happy. I'm cutting over now to Breth on his feeder. It's at the same location. It's a little bit further over from the farmhouse. And wallop. The first squirrel down. As I was saying before, that woodland belongs to somebody else over there. But the squirrels keep coming into the owner's field from that direction. So Breth stuck his feeder right up against this rather large wood, about 400 acres I think. He's also made contact with the people who own the wood. They're more than happy for him to retrieve squirrels. They're happy for him to draw them onto his side and shoot them. There's a bit of deer hunting going on in that woodland. It's not really safe to wander around. But he hasn't got permission to wander around it anyway. But what he has got permission to do is pop over the fence and retrieve dead squirrels. He's happy enough with that. You just can't wander around there shooting them. He can pick them off if he wants, if he can see them. He didn't want to wander around that woodland, if he might get mistaken for a deer. But again, this is where they're bed down. They're coming onto the property he has permission on, annoying the owner. So this is a great way of drawing them into a position where they can be shot properly or legally. And also a good way of reducing the numbers locally. I deem this to be quite good footage. The amount of squirrels shot today. As I said in my previous video, I won't be doing so many videos this year. Time just will not allow it. I have too many other things on, I'm afraid. When I get some chance to make a video, I don't want to make the same videos over and over again, even though these are pretty much similar to what I've made before. The criteria was new footage, new locations, decent quality footage. Something that makes me happy to watch. And this is more than making me happy. Bruv, as Grant has done. A little bit quicker shot than Grant. The result's the same. When you're happy to take the shots, when you take the shot. It's an experience thing. Unlike Grant's position, they can get to the feeder, sometimes unnoticed here. Grant's watching out of his, you can see them running across the fields pretty much, but they can come in via the trees and all sorts. Breth's sat in his car, he's not sat in a pop-up hide. He's even sat in his car on a cold day with the engine running before now and the squirrels are still turned up. Quite unlike a lot of other animals. It wouldn't give you the time of day. A rabbit certainly wouldn't wear it, I don't think. The crows and the magpies and the pigeons, I don't think they'd wear it either, but the squirrels are uniquely daft when it comes to doing this. There's quite a lot of wood around this, mainly to keep badgers and deer at bay. That'll do. It's battering through the population at the moment. We've seen sheep climbing up there before now, try and sneak some of that wheat. He's physically seen badgers on it and deer reaching over the fence from the other side. Hence all the wood and the barbed wire. As the bodies stack up, sometimes they become a bit more nervy. I do wonder sometimes if they'll smell the other squirrels first before they see them on the ground. See on that fence post just under the feeder there, see the shadow of it slinking down to look at the dead bodies. Most of the time though, once they've satisfied their curiosity, the old belly will rumble and they'll be up on that feeder. Other times they'll sit on alert, and that might just be still enough to take the shot. That's an experience thing again, up to the decision of the person taking the shot. I'll sped this bit up, messes about quite a bit. It's always handy if I got something to tell you, but I've sort of run out of what I want to say today. Any points I fancied making, get to the point where it calms down, makes its way towards the feeder. If you're not a patient person, I'd give it up if I was you, but we were all brought up fishing, and if that's one thing it teaches you, is patience. That's why it's called fishing, not catching. You're caught every time, it'd be boring. Never mind. Took its time getting there, and the Bruv was equal to the task. Good solid headshot there. This is footage from last year. I've had quite a quiet season so far this year. I've only been out 3 times and one of them was spoilt by a bunch of ferreters. Had 2 decent sessions. Hopefully I'll be able to get some video together for you of it. Bro and Bruv have been going at it quite well, and Grant as well, so there'll be more footage. And I've been out with Lethal Lee, still going shooting. Got a lot of things on this year, smashing my house around being one of them. Major construction work, which I'm doing mostly myself, hence me having to cut back on some of the other things I do. A bit time poor, as I said in another video. It's been quite good to have a bit of a layoff, to be fair. As I said in the first video this year, there's more than enough information on our channel for anyone who wants to do this to work out what the do's and don'ts are. Just watch the videos. And it's all about repetition. We don't just turn up and shoot a feeder. There's an awful lot of background work that goes into this. And as air rifle enthusiasts, we like going shooting. And that's targets or hunting or pest control. We don't mind. As the UK law states, if you need to go shooting or want to go shooting on some land, like we do here in this instance, the law requires you need the permission of the owner, else it's armed trespass. I'm sure there's lots of different rules the world over, and I would encourage anybody doing it anywhere else other than the UK or England, as I'm sat in at the moment, to make sure you know what your laws are. The flea bag there. Doesn't ever seem to be anything other than fleas on these in this country. Here we go. Wallop. As so often happens, the muscles spasm and that back leg will just hook on with those little claws. If they hang there for any length of time, the shot wasn't good, but they normally stretch out and drop. It's more like it. I don't mind a bit of a kickabout. It's usually indicative of a very good shot indeed. The brain's destroyed and all those chaotic neurons in the spine fire away, unfettered by the brain. Whilst Breth's defences will keep a deer or a badger or a sheep away, doesn't stop the squirrel. Sometimes it obscures their approach a bit. That's not a problem. It does create a rather safe backstop actually. Breth sat under the tree line in his car and he's shooting pretty much parallel with the fence. Maybe in a little bit because of the size of the car. It's much better when they don't mess about like this. That'll do. Most of the impact noise there is the pellet going straight through the skull and hitting the wood behind. Even with the 2.2s, they go straight through a squirrel's skull. As I said in a few videos, they're so thin, it's unbelievable. They're thinner than an eggshell. Very, very delicate the squirrel skull is. And the brains are soft as mush. There's no resistance to the pellet. I do honestly think that the polymags do their damage, and they do quite a lot of damage by actually tumbling as they hit. I've got no proof of that, it's just my opinion. I do know some pellets, even though you hit what you think is the perfect spot, don't seem to kill them just as well. Barracuda Hunter Extreme's another pellet that does a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing what JSB are bringing out. They're supporting the .20 caliber size, which if you've watched all our videos you'll know I have a firearms rated Theoban Rapid in .20, and they're making a heavy pellet, like 15 to 16 grains I do believe it is. So I'm waiting with bated breath for them to come to the UK so I can try them in my rifle. Hopefully they'll pop up later on as I get more and more things sorted out at home. Hopefully we'll be able to find some more time to make videos. I've got some good footage in the can. This one's taking its sweet time. I've sped this bit up because Breth's waiting for a while for it to sit up. He's going to make the judgment call in a minute that it's not going to stop eating like a pig in a trough and it's going to keep its head there. It's relatively still, even there's a little bit of movement. He decided to take the shot with his head in the trough, sit it just behind the eye. The trajectory of the pellet's going down. Sometimes you'll get that. They don't kick, there's always a pause. I'm all suspicious of people showing videos where they cut the footage just after the shot. There we go. Just got to wait for the muscles to spasm a little bit. He's got another one straight in on the feeder this time. I much prefer it when they sit with their head pulled in, hunched up. And if they get startled, they can't retract their head any further. They can turn side to side. Brev's fidgeting in his car, but look at the way the camera's moving. Just trying to get the right angle. And there we have it. He's getting through them today. Grant had a good day out, and Breth's having a better one. Doesn't always go this way. Most of Breth's missions are on places where there's an awful large amount of squirrels. Myself and Bro have already been out to Squirrel Hill this year. So's Breth and so's Grant. I've got some footage of that. Breth got blown away, I must confess. He was in his pop-up hide and couldn't get his car up there because of the weather conditions. He almost got blown away. Hopefully that will pop up in some future video. But here we go. Sat quite happily munching. Caught it just under the ear. You get a variety of reactions after the shot. Some are more violent than others. Very rarely do they lie still and don't move. I've only ever seen that on 1 or 2 occasions. This one doesn't look like it wants to play ball. Going to mess about. You never know what's going to happen until it happens. Much prefer it when they romp up and go straight to the feeder. It's quite an extended piece now. It messes about behind the feeder, looking at the dead ones on the ground. Very nervy. Left it in just to show just how much messing you have to put up with sometimes. Like I said before, patience is a virtue here. A lot of times you just got to wait till they get over themselves and feel confident enough to come in. It's finally happened now. It's what I like to see. Looking for all the world like he's going to come to the feeder. And it's game on. Like I said, most of the time they'll mess about, but they will eventually come to the feeder. Not often do they run away, but if they do run away, they'll be back at some point. The more squirrels that visit a feeder, the more scent they deposit on it and around it, and the roots to it. They'll catch the eye of other squirrels, and pretty soon all the squirrels know about the feeder. Just adds to helping them be drawn to an area so they can be shot. This is another classic example of a squirrel that doesn't want to come to the feeder, but it's sat in plain sight, not moving a lot. When you look at it, it's not moving quickly really, is it? Tail's not flicking, it's not fidgeting, the head's not bouncing about. It's just sat there. And Breth will be watching this through his scope and decide it's sat still enough to take the shot now. That's all you need. If it was twitching and fidgeting, he would never have taken that shot, but because it was sat pretty much motionless, small head movements, the angle of the pellet would go straight across the brain, and as it did, it dropped the squirrel straight to the ground. Yeah, the wind's picked up a bit there. Another messer squirrel sat on the top of the feeder. And again, that's all it took, was it to sit still. And the blood just rushes out the side of his head. Never knew what hit it. It is brutal, as I've said in previous videos. But I think it would be remiss of me to sanitize it. Ideally, we'd like other people to do the same thing. I wouldn't want you to do it if you couldn't handle the aftermath. I only want you to do it if you can do it properly. Like that. And that's the last one of Breth's session for today. It was a cracking day out with Grant. And that's the pile of squirrels. Not bad at all, is it? And that's Grant and Breth's haul. Well done, fellas. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share. Thank you.